space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Hi and welcome back. Right, this episode we're just literally gonna pick up right where we left off last time, pretty much. Right, so I've been to my model shop. I've got my new clear red. So one of the jobs this episode is that piece is going to be taken back out and completely redone. Then obviously repainted. We're going to get the two saucer halves together and mounted on top of the hull. If you remember, I put a couple of pieces of this brass tubing in the neck of the hull for the wires. This will only take 5 wires going through it, and there's 2, so I can get 10, and I've got a total of 11 wires coming from here. So I'm gonna, before I connect it all up, I'm gonna actually join this sensor into the bridge here instead of joining it further down, so it'll just be 10 wires coming down the pipes. I've also been looking at my collision and nav lights, and my timing's slightly wrong, so I'm going to have to go back into the main sketch. I'm going to correct that. So in the description, in the and more tab, there'll be a replacement sketch for the main sketch, so you can use that straight off, which will have the corrected nav light timing in. What else we're going to do? I'm not overly happy with the lighting in the impulse engine, so I'm going to look at doing something about that and see if we can get that better than what it is. I want it more of a red coming through the grills. While I was at the model shop, I got myself some Milliput. If you've not used this before, it's an epoxy putty, and it's like plasticine. Just mix equal amounts together for a few minutes till it's all one uniform colour. And when I come to doing the warp engines, if you remember, I've got my little mesh to go over so that we can hide the openings generally, and I'll just use the Milliput to go around the edge, so that'll be a nice clean seam around here. So, but that's not happening this episode, that'll be another episode. But while I was there, because there's still unrestricted openings, so as I was there I got my Milliput. So I think the first thing I'm off to get on with is correcting this back of the shuttle bay and correcting the lighting in the impulse deck. Once I've got both them done, I'll get back to you. So I'm getting cracking now, thanks. So the next thing I have to do is this wire needs to be spliced into this wire, and then I need to feed them all through this little gap and down these little tubes I put in before I look at connecting one to the other. So I have to get them spliced together, the wires through and the bottom saucer connected up. So I'll get that done and get back to you. Right, so now I've got all the wires from the top of the saucer. I've already soldered them into the same colour or the same part of the circuit on the bottom saucer. It's been easier to do it that way. So they're all soldered together and all held in place here. I've got then the 6 wires for the different circuits coming out through there where the neck of the hull will be. If we look closely, all the wires are now going into the top of the neck down our pipes. So that's worked well. So we're not going to be blocking any of our LEDs. And at the moment, I've got all the wires just coming out the front. I've tested all the wires working. That's just the saucer lights, main saucer lights. So next thing I've got to do is this piece for lighting up the top half of the neck needs to slot through here and be glued in place, and then we'll get the bottom half of this saucer glued onto there. So I'll get that them 2 parts done and I shall get back to you. Right, so I've now got the bottom half of the saucer is connected to the hull. Because of these wires, I'm not going to move it about too much. Just don't want to disturb any of them. So it's now time to say goodbye to all this, because the next stage is sealing the saucer on top. So I'm going to get that sealed on. Then there'll be bits of paint to redo, because I've deliberately not painted around these edges, so they'll need redoing. There's bits on the hull needs doing. I've already masked off all the windows on the hull section. So connected back up, painted back over, touched up. I'll get back to you when that's done, and we should be going on to the main circuit and let's have a look at this whole thing running. So I'll get all that sorted and be back to you. Just very quickly, these are best recommendation I can give for putting your saucer together. So obviously you need to clamp both halves together really well. These little clamps are 50p each, which are great, but I'd need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, about 30 of them, so 15 quid. And I got a pack of 40 pegs for £1. Buy the pegs every time. Right, back to sorting out my circuit board. Right, so I've had a little bit of a setback. When I sealed everything up, these LED strips that were faced triangular here weren't lighting up these skylights, windows, and a couple of the other windows properly, so never wanted to have to do this, but I've had to very carefully prise the top of the saucer back off. I've repositioned all these LED light strips so they'll now light up all these properly. Also, this sensor light was causing a lot of light leak into these windows. And I was getting a little bit from the other, so I mixed up a little bit of epoxy putty while I've had it off. And I've just moulded some over the top of all of them. I did break a wire. Can we see it? For the phasers, so I've had to resolder that together. Couldn't be helped. Accidents happen. But everything I needed to has now been put right. I have put it on, had a check, and it is lighting how I want it to now. So I'm going to get it resealed up and then get back on track. But this has put me a day or so behind where I was. So I'll get sealed up properly, get the paint over, and get back to you. Right, so about now, what I wanted to be doing was having all this painted. As you can see, I've got the saucer connected to the hull, which is what I wanted to do. And I wanted this all nice and sorted, plugged in, and all going. But as you can see, all the wires are coming through. It's all working, but at the moment they're taped up safely there. I've had what I'm going to call a putty nightmare. I followed a YouTube tutorial on using milliput, where I'd normally use perfect plastic putty for my seam lines. I thought I'll give it a try, and I've broken my own rule of try things out somewhere that it's not going to affect first. And I've had paint, paint was removed, and the milliput, the tiniest bits, a nightmare to sand down afterwards. So at the moment, I'm in the process of having to clean all the top saucer and the bottom saucer and the sides up again. I'm then going to have to mask every single window, mask all to protect them, repaint the entire thing. And when these things happen, it's quite frustrating. And I find the best way is to step back, take 3, maybe 4 days, don't touch it, formulate what you're going to do, how you're going to approach fixing the problem before you do. So, on that note, because I'm stepping back for a few days, I'm going to wrap this episode up. Next episode, when we come back, I'll start it with everything finished and us running the circuit, and then move on to the next parts I'm off to do, where I'm dying to get stuck into the nacelles and get my motors running. But for now, I'm going to leave this episode here, ending on a disaster. But these are not a disaster. The mistakes happened. I've got to correct it. These things happen. It's part of modelling. I'm not going to hide the fact it's happened, because milliput's a great product for certain things, but don't use it for filling the little seams, which I try to do. It advises you to get the milliput using methylated spirit on a paintbrush, dip it onto the milliput, and that brought paint off to start with. And then other places where it was just going awful. It's just been a nightmare using it. So I'm going to get cleaned up. Anywhere I need to have gaps, I'm going back to my perfect plastic putty, which I've used for, is what I normally use, and I love this stuff normally. So it was one of them things. I should have just used that like normal. But these things happen. So I'm wrapping this episode up. Keep trekking, keep modelling, and I'll get back to you soon as with the model fixed and back how it should be. But for now, thank you, bye bye.